In early February 2022, Roger and I brought our caravan to the Telford and Wrekin area of Shropshire, our home county. The reason for our journey was to make a short video to encourage our Christian brothers and sisters in this area, particularly those who've been praying for many years for a revival of faith, both in the church and the community. In Proverbs it says that hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. We wanted to see what hope is stirring as an answer to those years of prayer. On a very windy afternoon, we walked in the garden of Pauline Mack's home. Pauline has been a key part of prayer initiatives for Telford and Shropshire for many years. Now she's clearing a very heavily overgrown wilderness area, making a pathway through the dense thicket. We stopped to pray over Shropshire for God's kingdom to come, as Pauline has done many times. Prayer has been offered in this county through many centuries. Ormond and Buildwas Abbeys were monastic settlements, places of prayer and community. Today, these monasteries lie in ruins. In recent years, Telford had a reputation for being one of the most godless towns in England based on its low church attendance. So what real signs of hope or revival are there in 2022? Returning to Pauline's wilderness land with Chris Densham, we also remembered the prayers of the early Celtic saints as we looked and prayed together.
And we are at a crossroads in the life of the church in this land.
Yeah.
Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls.
Later, in the car with Chris, who is the ecumenical missioner for Telford and Shropshire, I asked, does he see signs of revival in the church?
For me, a much more helpful metaphor is that of exile. God's Old Testament people went into exile, and I think for us it feels much more like exile, because the Old Testament people, they lost their king. They lost all the markers of faith, actually. They lost their king, they lost the temple, they lost the land, all the precious things. We have to learn to sing the Lord's song in a strange land. And they had to, the faith hadn't changed, but the familiar markers had gone. And I think the other challenge, talking about revival for us, is all our stories of revival come from Christendom, which is understandable because we were in Christendom for hundreds and hundreds of years. But what that means is that when people, they understand what sin is, when they have a sense of sin, they know what to do, they go to church. Well, I personally, please Lord, I'm wrong, I can't see that happening. But I think there is a deep spiritual hunger growing in the land, but it's no good us expecting people to come to us. We have to go to where people are, build relationships, and it takes time, and understand what's going on in their lives. And again, Jesus, a missiologist, I can't remember which one it was, he said that Jesus is the church's greatest hidden asset. I mean, what a dreadful thing to say about the church. But it's true, because we talk about God and come to church, but actually there's something either strangely attractive or horrifying about Jesus to people who don't know him. And Jesus is extraordinary, isn't he? And the way he lived his life was extraordinary. And so if we can develop those Jesus conversations, I think we might be very surprised about what goes on. But I'm much more comfortable with that image of exile. For me personally, it just connects, I think, with where we are. Revival's coming, but if I'm going to be really cynical, revival's always coming, may not be in our lifetime, but it's coming. But exile, I think, just helps me understand a bit in this strange and actually at times uncomfortable world that we live in.
Chris has been involved with many different churches in the course of his ministry, and he doesn't yet see revival on the horizon in the way that we might have known revival in the past. But we have uncovered some good news in the midst of this modern spiritual wilderness. Join us for part 2 of Signs of Hope and Revival.
Jesus, it's your kingdom. Jesus, it's your kingdom come.